So I want to start off by addressing crypto price actions. This is the normal ebbs and flows, as they say, of the market. Things go up, things go down. Also, it's a long weekend right before September, so you're going to see volatility to the upside or to the downside. One thing I did notice, though, specifically, is that I'm actually pretty shocked that crypto hasn't crashed that bad, first off. And second, that the prices of like Ethereum and Solana are pretty strong. Bitcoin seems to be finally getting to that low point. Maybe 104,000 is the lowest point. We'll see what's happening basically going into towards like afternoon. I would like to say Eastern Standard Time in the US, New York time, people on the East Coast. Usually around 2, 3 p.m. Right now it's 1:15 p.m. 2 3 p.m. That's when you start to see things, what direction they're going to go to for the rest of the weekend. And Sunday night, Asian markets open. Futures might not open until Tuesday, Monday evening, I believe, because Monday's a holiday here in the U.S. However, keep in mind that, remember, although it is a holiday, the rest of the world is still working. Labor Day weekend for the most of the world is actually May 1st, I believe. We, as they used to call it in China when I used to live there. So key pieces of news for this past week. I was just in X base, and for people that watch this later as well, I want to make sure that you guys understand what we're going into next week. Prepare, because if you're in space like I am, I tell my people, listen, we all got to basically do what we can do. Talk to government officials. I'll talk about that in a second, or a few minutes rather. Talk to government officials. Get the word out there that we want them to focus on policy when they come back from their summer recess / Labor Day weekend. Today the politicians are all like, at the local parades and doing the runarounds. I remember I saw Chuck Schumer at the Puerto Rican Day Parade in July. He's like, "Dónde están los boricuas?" Speaking Spanish. But first piece of news: U.S. GDP numbers on the blockchain. This is huge because you have to understand that Chainlink specifically, which basically was used by the U.S. government, Howard Lutnick specifically, and President Trump coordinated to use Chainlink to put the actual GDP numbers. I think it was 3.3%, and all the other numbers around it on the blockchain. Chainlink was invented for this. There hasn't really been a major use case for Chainlink before now, and I'm actually pretty impressed by the U.S. government because they could have built their own private blockchain, their own public blockchain, but they used an already existing blockchain. Why reinvent the wheel? It's already, it is already invented, right? No point. You're just wasting time. But a lot of people have Chainlink, people in the government, people that follow Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, whether you like Trump or not, or you think his family is profiting off of cryptocurrency or not, and you think it should be legal, they all do it. I think that this is how you basically bring crypto into the mainstream, right? Next year, we know people are going to be able to buy it using banks, right? Bank apps. Go in there, buy Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, whatever. However, keep in mind that the fact that Chainlink was used by the US government to put GDP numbers on there, and they're going to continue to put more information on there, and it's going to be on 9 different public blockchains. This legitimizes the actual blockchain technology. Remember, before people just saw it as a speculative asset or a scam. Now they're going to start to see, oh, there's actual real world use cases. I worked a little bit in the tech space as well, formal job, and I also worked in a little bit of fundraising. And most people just look at cryptocurrency. This is just a speculative asset. You put money in there and you cash it out at higher value. But now with the U.S. government showing people, listen, you can use Chainlink. Hey, how you doing, Ruth? Oh, Ray, same name as last name as me. Now you can start using blockchains for actual real world use cases, right? This started with the Genius Act earlier in July. When they passed the Genius Act, what happened? A lot of organizations, banks found out, oh, you can use this for payments. Even though I personally started using it because Visa was actually piloting payments way back in 2023. Hey, actually, hi everybody. I'll say hi to everybody one by one. But now that we are starting to see the government banks start using Chainlink for interoperability, for putting stuff on the blockchain, for payments as well, peer-to-peer, pretty soon you're going to hear a lot about XRP being used for bank-to-bank transfers abroad as well, SWIFT system, ISO 222. A little bit complicated, but we'll get into that in the future. We're going to see a mass adoption for the technology itself, not just cryptocurrency speculation make money, but actual technology usage itself. That's one. US GDP numbers in the blockchain. Number two, the CFTC allowing Americans to use offshore exchanges. This is huge. Right now, what we have in the US basically is a monopoly of 3 major exchanges: Gemini Exchange, love them, Robinhood, And third, and the biggest, Coinbase. Because they don't have to compete with other exchanges abroad like Binance or Bybit, which actually have lower fees. I believe that Binance has 0 fees for purchasing Bitcoin and certain cryptocurrencies. Now that once Americans are be able to actually use those exchanges, access those exchanges in a safe manner, right? I think you should teach people how to use custody storage. So it doesn't matter where you buy it, as long as it's on your personal private hardware wallet or hot wallet, and nobody has access to it. You keep those seed phrase secret. But again, CFTC, allowing Americans to use offshore exchanges, huge. And this is part of the fact that the Clarity Act is going to be passed soon. They're front running the Clarity Act. Anytime you hear the CFTC is doing something versus the SEC, the commodities, that means that they're already starting to front run. These are things that were suggested by President Trump Crypto Working Group during Crypto Week. And these are things that are going to be implemented regardless. So instead of them waiting for it to be implemented, you have 30 days from when President Trump signs an act for it to be implemented by the organizations. They're front running it. They're like, let's get ahead of this, get this done now. So in the future, we don't have to worry about sprinting. They're actually sprinting right now. They're calling it the sprint for regulatory clarity by the CFTC versus the sprint for regulatory clarity by the SEC earlier in the summer. So again, point number 2, CFTC allowing Americans to use offshore exchanges. Huge. Number 3, CFTC, quote, United States CFTC adopts NASDAQ surveillance system to boost crypto market oversight and prepare for expanded authority under pending legislation. So let's break that down, unquote. U.S. adopts NASDAQ surveillance system to boost crypto market oversight. The first part of that sentence for me specifically, it implies that we are now seeing what I said before a few years ago. TradFi, traditional finance, and DeFi, decentralized finance, merging into one. Prepare for expanded authority under pending legislation. Pending legislation, again, that is the Clarity Act. They're getting ahead of the Clarity Act that's going to be signed by President Trump, hopefully by Christmas latest. I think that probably September, and I'll explain why in a bit. So again, number 3, CFTC, US CFTC adopts NASDAQ surveillance system to boost crypto market oversight and prepare for expanded authority under pending legislation. Number 4, US House and Senate return Tuesday, post-Labor Day weekend, September 2nd. This is important because, same with crypto, shout outs to them, the past few weeks, they've been telling us, listen, especially the past, I think it was last Thursday, email blast to everybody that's on their email list. Make sure that you email your state representatives, U.S. representatives, and your state senators, and let them know that Clarity Act is very important for us to pass as soon as possible. That's non-negotiable in my book. We're talking to our representatives, our state senators here in New York State. We have one that's very pro-crypto, Gillibrand, in the U.S. Senate, where the Clarity Act is now. We have Richie Torres in the Bronx where I live, who's a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, and he specifically is one of the people working with Tom Emmer to be the pro-crypto faction of the U.S. Congress. And if anything goes back to them from the U.S. Senate with corrections to the Clarity Act, they're going to pick it up right away and run with it. We're in 2025. Senate and the House, they can talk to each other. They can use phones, they can use emails, they can actually talk to each other face to face. This isn't the 1800s where they had to go through the whole process and had to go to one chamber to the next chamber, and it would take months. So this would be really fast. So remember, if you're an American, you live in the United States, find who your local U.S. Congressperson is, who represents you in D.C., email them, let them know that you support the Clarity Act, so the constituents, you support the Clarity Act. U.S. Senate as well. They look at all the emails. And if one person gets thousands of emails saying, hey, I'm a constituent of yours, and I vote, and I want you to pass something, they're going to look at it even if they disagree with it. And obviously, they're going to pass it if they know they'll lose if they don't pass it. It's how politics works. So, number 5. SEC, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission, is currently reviewing 92 crypto spot exchange traded funds. That's 92 that are going to be listed on the stock exchange for BlackRock and TradFi organizations to be able to let their high net worth clients actually buy into. So this is very important. I just want to make a side note. And if you're not here live listening and you don't listen afterwards, I'm going to give you a cheat code right now for those that are listening. Generally speaking, crypto projects that actually can have an ETF coming in 2025 are the ones that already have a futures contract trading on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange as of today, I'm already ahead of myself, August 30th, 2025, there are only 4 crypto projects, four, one, two, three, four, that are on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and have futures contracts. You already know 2 of them, which already have spot ETFs, Bitcoin and Ethereum. The only other 2 cryptocurrency projects that have futures contracts on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, Solana, XRP. Into my next point, Solana yesterday, all the filers for the Solana ETF, after market closing, which they usually do it on Friday, they had to update the applications for the spot ETFs. For those that have been following, every time that you did that with the Bitcoin and Ethereum ones, whenever you updated after market closing on Friday, it usually meant, not financial advice, not saying it'll happen, it usually means that they're going to approve it within the next month, the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. And remember that the deadline for most of these crypto, from like most of the XRP, Solana, the major ones, is October. I would not be surprised personally if everything just gets like a blanket for everything. You get a Tron ETF, you get a Pepe ETF, you get a Dogecoin ETF, you get all these ETFs. Eric Balchunas, the ETF guy on Wall Street for Bloomberg, the analyst, and one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world, #1 guy for ETFs, all ETFs, is saying that very soon in the near future, probably within the next few years, we're going to have way more crypto ETFs than traditional ETFs, like for gold and silver and all that other good stuff. With that being said, I'm going to keep these to like 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to actually start doing these daily because I think that lives are way better. Not just me like with a mic inside my house, but also outside. I'm going to start traveling soon for politics. We'll do more interviews live, but I really want to focus on basically just being organic. And notice one thing that's really cool. Get a Phillips one blade. One thing that, oh yeah, I'm growing out the beard. Yeah, so as soon, I'll probably like start tidying it up when I'm not like looking in front of my laptop 24/7. But as soon as we like start going into like the bull run phase, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. I'll have a certain time I go in on Monday to Friday, live with you guys for 10 to 15 minutes. And then weekends, we're going to basically just, hey, whenever I have free time, we're going to just go live and kick it. With that being said, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Go out and touch grass. It's Labor Day weekend. I mean, what are you doing listening to some guy on the internet? With that being said, upwards and onwards.